It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of February 23rd, 2001. So, we only got 2 movies to look at. Let's go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend. I guess the biggest new release of the weekend, 3,000 Miles to Graceland. Because when you see franchise pictures, you know it means quality. Okay, not really, but, you basically have it's pretty much a precursor to something like Ocean's 11, which proved to be a much better heist movie set in Las Vegas that came out later this year by Warner Brothers. But it's an ingenious enough plan. Rob the Riviera Casino's count room during an Elvis impersonators convention. What could possibly go wrong? But Thomas Murphy, played by, I believe it's Kevin Costner, he decides to keep all the money for himself, shoots all of his partners, including recently freed ex-con Michael Zane, played by Kurt Russell. With $3.5 million at stake, the Marshal Service is closing in, and single mother Sybil Waingro, played by Courtney Cox, and her son Jesse, constantly confounding things, Michael must track down Murphy. This is a movie that, like I said, it's franchise pictures. A lot of their movies were not that great, and they had a high budget, and sure enough, there's another one of those movies that has one of those high budgets, and you can't help but think that yourself that the people that, the producers of this movie went into Las Vegas, basically spent all that money they were given and basically tried to get as much money as they could, but they couldn't. And when they realized that, oh shit, we don't have enough money to make this movie, let's just make the cheapest production we can and just say that we spent $47 million on it. And that's the end result here. And, you know, for a movie that has Kurt Russell, Kevin Costner, Courtney Cox, Christian Slater, Kevin Pollak, David Arquette, Thomas Hayden Church, Joaquin Woodbine, Ice-T, friggin' Paul Anka, you would think there'd be so much more to it, but, yeah, as far as the film itself goes, it's pretty bad. I mean, there are some possibly good ideas overall, but the movie just turns out to be another one of those movies that doesn't know what type of tone it wants to set, and the tone it decides to set doesn't match up with what the original intentions of the movie were. It's just a film that, it's not funny, the action sequences are not that great, the acting overall is really mediocre, and you don't expect that from talents like Costner and Russell among the cast in this movie, but you expect so much more from it. But unfortunately, again, franchise pictures, they are notoriously known for making one bad movie after another, and this is another one of those prime examples of a movie that is a bad movie on so many levels, and a film that fits so rightly with the dumping ground months of January and February. So, not much more to say about this one, 3,000 Miles to Graceland. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie, and that is Brendan Fraser in Monkey Bone. Kind of like with 3,000 Miles to Graceland, a very promising premise overall, and very promising ideas, very promising, unique, interesting concepts, mixing live action and animation together, stop motion animation. The end result, not so much. The storyline of this movie is that you have Brendan Fraser as this cartoonist who ends up in a coma, where he ends up located in this place called Downtown, which is basically a state of limbo between heaven and hell. And he runs into the titular character that he created, as voiced by John Turturro, as he works to get back to the living while contending with an evil plot to supply Downtown with nightmares. Fittingly, this is directed by the same man that gave us The Nightmare Before Christmas. And, yeah, and this also is written by Sam Hamm, who also wrote Batman and Batman Returns. And a cast that includes Bridget Fonda, Chris Kattan, Giancarlo Esposito, Rose McGowan, Whoopi Goldberg, again, John Turturro. The possibilities for this movie should have been massive. I mean, this should have been a really impressive movie, and a chance to show what Henry Selick can do as a director as a whole. But when you watch the film and you see it go on, you start to realize that, yeah, this was just a bad idea altogether. I feel like this is a movie that had so much more potential to it, so much more ideas to it. This is based off of a comic book, too, a comic book called Darktown, which, of course, like I said, is pretty much... I said it was Downtown. Is it? Yeah, Downtown. So it's not the same thing. I thought it was the same thing for a second there, but... Yeah, it's based off of a comic book called Darktown, and it was basically an idea that the writer of this basically said that I've never felt any project was closer to my sensibilities than this one. The initial intent was to stay true to source material, which could be seen in the early designs from Selick's company, Twitching Image. However, as the project developed and eventually evolved into Monkey Bone. So this is not even a movie that's this movie did not end up being the movie that was originally intended to be the film that Dark Town was supposed to be. And you could tell there was a lot of influences from, obviously, Tim Burton's Batman, a little bit of Cool World in there as well, and of course the big one, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But in the end, the movie, I think, just really, I don't know, it just had so much potential there from the get-go. It felt like a film that really could have been something very unique and very different. And it has the visuals to it. It's got a lot of weird, bizarre, dark, twisted ideas, and maybe too twisted for its own good. There are moments in this movie where it's just kind of like, they're going way too far with these visuals, man. It's just really bizarre, insane stuff, and it just really, like, it never really lives up to the full potential that I think they wanted to, especially what Henry Selick said over 20 years later. He basically said that it would have been done better if they'd advertised it a little. I would still like to do a director's cut, but there's a lot of cool stuff that was removed. My main lesson learned is that I don't really do well in the live-action universe. I love my world of stop motion. I went down a slippery slope to make Monkey Bone, and the film that came out is not my vision of what the film could have been, and I just don't thrive in that, which is pretty true, because once he did this movie and went back to doing what he did best with stop motion, his career really went back on track. I mean, he helped to establish Leica Animation. He did Coraline. He did Wendell and Wild. I mean, he's basically improved his career, put his career back on track after this particular film. This was just a movie that I felt like maybe there could have been so much more to it, and it just didn't live up to the potential. And it just shows that Henry Selick tried his hand at live action, didn't find it very interesting, and went back to doing what he did best. Kind of like what happened with Andrew Stanton, who tried to go into the world of live action, and he did John Carter after he did so many Pixar movies. But when that didn't work, go back to doing what you do best. I mean, Brad Bird kind of did that too. And Monkey Bone, some good ideas overall, some nice visuals, but yeah, the film overall was just a massive, massive misfire on so many levels. And I am glad to see that Selick and Fraser and everybody in the cast moved on from this and actually went on to have bigger and better careers, which, then again, except for Bridget Fonda, who, after one other movie she did in 2001, her career kind of took a quick downfall, which is sad to say, because she's a great actress, but she hasn't really done anything after this next movie that comes out later in the year, Kiss of the Dragon. But we'll eventually get to that one when we get to that one. But as far as Monkey Bone is concerned, yeah, it's a big misfire on so many levels. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll jump into March on the next episode, taking a look at Julia Roberts and Brad Pitt in The Mexican. We also have C-Spot Run. 2 more movies to look at next time around. We'll take a look at those on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I'm off. I will see you guys next time, and until the next time I see you, take care.